In the late 1970s and through the 1980s, Baltimore was a city in crisis. Once known for its bustling docks and tight-knit rowhouse neighborhoods, the city was now marked by boarded-up buildings, job loss, and a creeping sense of despair. It was in this vacuum that a new generation of kingpins emerged, men who would rewrite the rules of the street and turn Baltimore into one of the nation's most notorious battlegrounds in the drug war. At the center of this story stood figures like Nathan Bodie Barksdale and Melvin "Little" Melvin Williams. Both men came from the city's roughest blocks and rose quickly through the ranks, building crews that operated like corporations, complete with lieutenants, enforcers, and strict codes of conduct. Their empires were built on heroin first, then crack cocaine, with distribution lines stretching across West Baltimore and beyond. Barksdale, known for his charisma and ferocity, ran his crew with military discipline. He was respected, feared, and notorious for both ruthless violence and surprising acts of generosity to his community. Little Melvin, meanwhile, was a master strategist, always a step ahead of both rivals and police. He understood the value of secrecy, alliances, and bribes, and he used all three to keep his business thriving. As the drug war raged on, Baltimore's law enforcement quietly shifted their tactics. Detectives who once relied on street sweeps and informant tips began to embrace new tools, wiretaps, surveillance, and long-term undercover work, trying to build cases from the inside out. The city's most dangerous corners were now watched not just by rival crews, but by police vans parked discreetly on side streets, antennas bristling, listening to every whispered deal. The Barksdale organization, always watchful for snitches, grew more secretive. Burn phones were swapped daily. Codes replaced real names on the phone. Money was laundered through beauty salons, car washes, and small businesses that blended into Baltimore's battered landscape. Even with these precautions, paranoia simmered within the ranks. Stories circulated of rats who'd vanished or been found dead in alleyways, reminders that trust could be fatal. Little Melvin Williams, meanwhile, played a high-stakes chess game. He kept his distance from the street, moving through the city in unremarkable cars, never speaking openly about business unless he was certain he couldn't be recorded. He was a ghost in plain sight, known to everyone, caught by no one. The pressure mounted. Police managed to flip a few key crew members, luring them with plea deals and promises of protection. Slowly, the evidence began to pile up: coded phone calls, surveillance photos, informant testimony. The tension across Baltimore was electric. Everyone knew something big was coming, but nobody could predict who would fall first. Then, in a series of dawn raids, police finally moved. Corners emptied as crews scattered, trying to destroy evidence and escape arrest. Some lieutenants ran. Others turned themselves in, hoping to cut deals before the walls closed in. The drug war that had defined a generation was reaching a boiling point, and Baltimore held its breath as the battle between street power and law closed in on the city's most infamous kingpins. The takedown of Baltimore's drug empires came with the kind of drama the city had never seen before. In courtroom after courtroom, federal prosecutors unveiled years of secret recordings, wiretap transcripts, and surveillance photos. Names that had once ruled the streets were now recited in indictments and sworn testimony. Some of the city's most feared kingpins, Barksdale, Williams, and their top lieutenants, stood before judges, facing charges that carried decades in prison. The testimony was explosive. Flipped crew members described in chilling detail how heroin and crack moved through the city, how stash houses were managed, how money was laundered, how hits were ordered on anyone suspected of cooperation, old alliances shattered under pressure. Some who had sworn never to snitch took the stand, telling juries about murders, betrayals, and payoffs that kept the whole system running. For Baltimore, the trials became a public reckoning. Families who had lost sons and daughters to addiction filled the courtrooms. Reporters chronicled every twist, from shocking betrayals to dramatic confessions. The police, who had struggled for years to penetrate these organizations, finally saw results as convictions mounted and long sentences were handed down. But the fall of the kingpins did not end the city's pain. As one empire collapsed, others rushed to fill the vacuum. Streets that once belonged to Barksdale or Little Melvin became battlegrounds for new, younger crews, each one eager to claim power but lacking the discipline and order of the old guard. Violence spiked in the aftermath, and for many in Baltimore it felt like the rules had been erased, leaving only chaos in their place. Still, the impact of the busts was undeniable. For the first time, Baltimore's streets felt the absence of their old rulers. The city was forced to reckon not just with the kingpins it had lost, but with the scars left behind, on families, on neighborhoods, and on the city's soul. The legacy of Baltimore's drug wars lingers long after the courtroom lights faded and the kingpins vanished into prison cells. The neighborhoods that once served as battlegrounds bear the marks: empty lots, shuttered row houses, families haunted by memories of loved ones lost to addiction or violence. The old order, for all its ruthlessness, at least had rules. In the years that followed, chaos often filled the void, as smaller crews battled for dominance and trust became even more scarce. But the impact of the real Barksdale organization, Little Melvin Williams and their rivals, reached far beyond Baltimore. Their stories became the blueprint for TV shows, rap lyrics, and countless street legends. The Wire, hailed as one of the greatest crime dramas ever made, drew its most gripping characters and plot lines from the real people who shaped Baltimore's underworld. Viewers around the world caught glimpses of the code, the hustle, the heartbreak, and the cost of ambition when survival is always at stake. For Baltimore, the scars and lessons remain. Police and politicians cycle through new tactics and promises. Activists and neighbors keep fighting for the soul of their blocks, searching for hope where the game once ruled everything. The rise and fall of the city's drug kingpins is more than a cautionary tale. It's a story about power, poverty, survival, and the human need for meaning and connection, even in the shadows. In the end, the true story behind The Wire is the story of Baltimore itself, raw, relentless, and impossible to forget.